Hi Year 8, welcome back to our lessons on weather and climate. Today's lesson is all about high pressure weather systems. That is our title for today, so please write that down in your books. And we are going to look at the key terms. So if you remember back in our ecosystems unit of work, we did look very briefly at high pressure and what ecosystems are formed at high pressure areas on the planet. So if you remember, it is the desert areas or areas that are particularly dry. And this is because high pressure, and this is a key term I want you to write down. If you remember, high pressure is where you have an area where the air is sinking. And this air has very little moisture in it. And if it has very little moisture, it's not going to rain. It's not going to make rain. Another word is anticyclone. Now this is a weather system that has a high pressure at the center of it. So if you have a time where you've got lots of high pressure, you will get what is known as an anticyclone. And drought. Drought is a period when there is much less precipitation over a specific time than is usual. This will lead to water shortages. So these key terms are all to do with high pressure. Right, in front of you, you have figure 2. And figure 2 is a weather map to show the features of a high pressure system in the summer. As you can see, it's the UK as well. So this is the UK in the summer. So what is high pressure then, and what does a typical day of high pressure look like? So if we use the UK as our example, I want you to use this map and your own understanding to describe the weather conditions associated with high pressure. All right, so it's very simple. You're going to use what's in the key here to describe what's going on in the map here. Now, first of all, I will tell you what few things are going on the map because we haven't looked at this before. So what I want you to look at on the map, on the key, is this part here, the weather. Now, for the moment, I want you to ignore that, all of this stuff here that I'm circling. Ignore that. I'm going to cross that out, because if you actually look at the map, it's not on there. Right? None of those symbols are on that map, so we're going to ignore that for now. Okay, so first of all, I want you to have a look at this bit here, the cloud amount or cloud cover. Now this is measured in octaves. Now octaves is quite difficult to understand, but I'm just going to quickly tell you what it means. Now these circles here that go from 0 all the way to 8, if you see here, they go down like this, or up or down in the scale, however you want to look at it, with how much cloud cover there is up in the sky. So for example, 0, the circle there that is clear, the white circle, would represent no clouds being up in the sky at all. Okay, so that's what, if you looked up and there was nothing, you couldn't even see a wisp of white, then there would be nothing there. So that would be 0. And then obviously the further down you go on this scale is the more cloud that you see. And then 8 there would be, you couldn't see any blue sky whatsoever, it's all cloud. Okay, all the sky that you can see is completely covered in cloud, and that would be 8. So you go from 0, which is nothing in the sky at all the way down to 8, which is completely covered with cloud. Okay, so you've got another one here, which is air pressure. Now we'll talk about that more later, but these bars, they're the rings that you can see here on the map. Now these are what we call isobars, and they give basically how much pressure there is in that area. Okay, so as you can see here, around that ring in the middle, you've got a number which is 1036, 1036, and that's the pressure that would be within that circle there. And then you go to the next line, the next circle here, and you can see there is the pressure of 1032, and that will be the pressure within the area here between the two circles. All right, and then so on and so on. Next one, you've got temperature. That's quite obvious there. You can see the temperature, and they are the numbers. Okay, you can see them all around there. There you are, 22 up there in Northern Ireland. And then you've got wind speed. Okay, wind speed. Now this is in knots. Now, unless you are quite, experienced sailors or know much about wind speed, you won't have heard of the term knots. And it's just the measurement we use to show wind speed. So for an example here, if we look at the knots of 13 to 17, you see here that the fastest that is showing on the map, that would be the equivalent of about 15 miles per hour. Okay, so not that fast really. So if you had a wind speed of about 13 to 17 knots, you'd expect to see some trees blowing in the wind quite normally, like nothing quite dangerous about that at all. But if you wanted to think about how fast it would be in a gale, then you'd think it would be about 32 miles an hour, which would be really quite heavy winds, strong winds, and quite dangerous. All right, so that the knots here, 13 to 17, aren't particularly fast. Okay, and they're shown here by these circles with the lines or the feathers coming off of them. You can see them there, and 13 to 17 looks really quite cool. It's like a little feather like that with two prongs at the end. All right, and then when it's calm, you've just got a circle within a circle. Very badly drawn, but you can see that there. All right. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking now, and I want you to just describe what you see is happening on this weather map of the UK. Okay, so use everything that we've just talked about to describe what's happening. And I'd use everything you see on this map. And also use place names. So you might want to get your atlas out and have a look at where places are in the UK if you have forgotten. Okay, so if you want to get your green pens out and we can have a look and see how well you did, obviously use a tick if you got it right, or just change it as we go along. Okay, so what you should have got is, having a look here, you should have noticed that the majority of the UK has very low cloud coverage. Okay, so cloud coverage, you can see there is with the octas, so the circles that are coloured in, and you can see here that only all the way up there, the north of Scotland, up in the Shetland Isles, you can see that it is completely covered with cloud, but the rest of the UK hasn't got very much coverage at all. If we go on to wind speeds, you can see that it's mostly very calm, and that's where you want to use those circles with the little feathers there. You can see the knots, and you can see that most of them are very calm. Only a few areas up in Norfolk there and down in the southwest have wind speeds of about 13 to 17, and as it's at the coast, it will be more breezy at the coast, but inland it is calmer. And the warm day, so the temperatures there are about 27 degrees in the UK, and that's in South Wales and down just outside of London there, so it's quite warm. All right, so if you've got any of that, guys, you can write it down. So in front of you, you can see two pictures, and they both show high pressure systems. figure A shows a high pressure in the summer. There you go, a photograph of the high pressure in the summer in the UK. And figure 4 is in the winter. Now they're both very different. But if we go back to figure 3 and just have a look here, we can link it really nicely to our weather map that we've just done previously. And you can see, look, in the sky there are no clouds, very clear, one or two tiny ones, but mainly it's quite clear. It looks really bright and sunny. So in the summer, if you have high pressure in the summer, you will expect to have clear skies, really, really sunny, and really, really warm weather. In the winter, however, you can see again it's still got, look, no clouds, but here it looks a lot colder. It's still sunny, still going to have quite a lot of sun, but it is cold, and we can see that there is a lot of frost on the ground. Now, why is it colder in the winter? Well, because we don't have any clouds during this high pressure system, all the sun's energy that has warmed up the earth in the day has been lost overnight. So when the sun goes down overnight, all of that heat just gets lost in the atmosphere, as there are no clouds to kind of cover it in, to blanket it in. So therefore we get frost, and we get frost in the mornings and in the evenings as well, and at night time it gets really cold. And it will be quite cold all day, but that's what we usually see. So lots of frost as we don't have that cloud cover. Okay, I'm now going to explain to you how we get high pressure systems. So what I want you to do is copy this diagram on the screen. Now you can draw it into your books, or if you are typing this up on Word, you can just Google an image and you'll probably find this image on Google anyway. So when I explain it, when I go through it, I want you to add the labels that we see. Okay, so in a high pressure system, we notice the air sinks. It sinks because it is heavier. So there we go. So first of all, the air sinks, and as it sinks, because it's heavier, it's more dense. And as it sinks, it warms, okay, as it's going closer to the earth, it warms up. And therefore, clouds don't form because there is no moisture that is being evaporated into the atmosphere. There is no moisture going up into the sky, therefore clouds can't form. And this is what we call high pressure. Okay, and it's usually when we get periods of no rain for a while, especially if we have high pressure for a long time, and this can lead to droughts. Right, what I want you to do now is look at this diagram, or this sort of table in front of you. I want you to draw a table with these headings, please. So draw a table, 2 columns with those headings. Advantages of high pressure systems and disadvantages. All right, so I want you to then sort out the information in the boxes here and put them under the right headings. So are they advantages? Are they good things about high pressure, or are they bad things about high pressure? So I want you to decide, please. I know in the boxes here it says meaning ... I don't want you to do that for all of them. So at the moment I just want you to put them into the right columns, and then afterwards I want you to do the meanings, and I'll tell you about that in a second. So just pause the video now and sort those statements into the right headings. All right, so let's get our green pens out and see how well we did. Just give yourself a tick or write advantage, disadvantage next to them if you got them wrong. Okay, so here you go. If you just have a look on the screen, you can do this yourselves. Just write them down quickly. Okay. Okay, so here is your extended written task. Remember, you're meant to spend the most time on this activity, and you're meant to use everything that we've looked at in the lesson in your writing. Okay, so you have to go back, look at your notes, look at the tasks again, look at my video again, just to get every piece of information into your writing. Right, let's have a look. What do you have to do? So it says here, you will write a letter to a friend about either a high pressure event in the summer or winter. You can decide. Explaining how it comes about and the potential advantages and disadvantages of the event. Basically, you are going to choose to write about the summer high pressure anticyclone or a winter high pressure anticyclone. You choose, only one. And then you're going to tell me, how does it happen? So you've got to think about what causes high pressure. You are then going to tell me some advantages and then some disadvantages. So let's have a look at the success criteria. So you need to explain it, how it happens. You're meant to describe 3 features of a high pressure event. So that means, you know, thinking back to the weather map, what does it look like in the summer? What do you expect to see? And then what do you expect to see in the winter? Then can you go back to that table that you've just written where you sorted out the advantages and disadvantages? Can you now explain 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages? That means you have to use that meaning at the end. So you tell me what the advantage is and then tell me why it is an advantage. Tell me why it is a disadvantage. Okay? All right, let's have a look at some examples. All right, so thinking about the success criteria, which is there up on the screen, let's read this example and see if it actually works, if they've met the criteria. Let's read it. Dear friend, I'm writing to you from the UK on a lovely winter's morning. We are experiencing high pressure, which is known as an anticyclone. This is caused by sinking air, which warms as it sinks, meaning clouds do not form. So, the weather when I woke up was bright and sunny with no winds, but very frosty. Great for getting out and about, which means shops and visitor centres could benefit today. However, the roads are icy and older people are vulnerable. The forecast says the high pressure should be around for several days. So by the time this reaches you, we should still be enjoying the weather here. So does this meet the criteria? Have a look. So, first of all, that first paragraph gives a really well explained cause. So if you have a look, it says, this is caused by sinking air, which warms as it sinks, meaning no clouds form. So that is a brilliant first part there. So that meets number 1 of the success criteria. Second paragraph, he's right by saying, or she's right by saying, that it is sunny and bright with no winds, but very frosty. Okay, so that is correct. You've described the features of the weather. So that's number 2 done. It's great for getting out and about, which means shops and visitor centres could benefit today. That's great. So they've written a point about the advantage. But they haven't explained why it's such a good benefit and why people would more likely go out during this weather. So the chain has not been done there. Okay, so they've done here, but they've not given a chain of reason. Third paragraph or line, it says they've given a point, but they've not explained it very much. So overall, it's really well explained, but they haven't, if you see here, they haven't given 2 disadvantages and with a chain of reason, and they haven't given a chain of reason for the advantages. So therefore, it doesn't meet the success criteria. Okay, so now you know what you have to do. Pause the video, spend at least half an hour on this, guys, and use all the keywords and information that we looked at today. Good luck!